And welcome back, esports fans. We now have Machi on match point after 3 very decisive but very back and forth games. Will they be able to close it out here, or Boom going to take it all the way? Well, we're about to find out. But before we do that, I do want to take a moment to thank our lovely sponsors. They are, of course, on the bottom of your screen: CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible this split. Now, Nightstar, Machi looked really good that time around, and we so far have 100% blue side win rate. Is there something about this side of the rift that makes it so much more powerful? Because so far, both teams have been able to find victories there and only there.
I think it hasn't necessarily been blue side is overwhelming. It's been more of the fact that red side has kind of shown their strategies too early. It's shown their hand, and it's allowed blue side to then go ahead and get really nice counter picks to answer back. We saw in that previous game, the Braum pick came early, the Philios came early. It allowed that Bard pick to come in as an answer. And on the flip side, in game number 2, it was the LeBlanc that was shown early, and that allowed the Vladimir to come through. And then the side of red, they didn't pivot strategies and continue to funnel themselves into a Vladimir strategy. So maybe a little bit better adaptations coming in from red side would allow more advantages, but we see blue side so far being able to get that first big power pick also helps out.
Yeah, that certainly is going to be the case. And, you know, we will have another swap up again. Of course, the team that loses, they get side selection in the following matchup. That was Boom. So they will be on the blue side, but no swaps. So far, we had seen Alex swapped in a little bit and then swapped immediately out for Holo. He's sticking around this time. So we will see as the pick and bans commence. This time there is a Viego ban by Boom. They've been the ones to do this on the blue side. Machi, they commit once again to the Renekton and the Thresh.
Ziggs should come out for a final ban coming in from Machi, as that has been a pick that's just given them a large amount of fits as they go ahead, ban that away. Boom. They will have their choice. Do they go for something like the LeBlanc that has been left through? Of course, if Machi go ahead, lock that in early, and they go for the Diana pair up with it, you can fully expect Boom to just answer back with the Vladimir in kind.
So it's going to be the Xin Zhao for Holo locked in. Now, that was typically more of an Alex champion, but they will go ahead and opt to first pick it. Machi, they're going to go ahead and respond by picking up a Trundle. This is, of course, a flexible pick for them. Although we haven't really seen it a ton out of Koala specifically. And the Aphelios comes in high prio. Once again on this Aphelios, we've been talking about it. It's a bit of a bait. But for the Boom side, this does free them up to take the LeBlanc themselves. So Ruby getting his hands on that as the timer ticks down. We'll see what Jimmy answers with. In the past, he's done a number of things. We've seen him play the Lissandra once, but a bit more of a Silas player, things like that.
Yeah, it would more than likely be Jimmy and locking in his champion right here on R3. Either the Silas or the Lissandra, as Boom hovering this Ezreal pick. I would prefer to see the Ashe, as it just provides a little bit more utility.
The Jhin.
The Jin's not a bad answer as well. And the key thing here for Machi is the fact that they drafted the Aphelios paired with the Trundle. So they deny the Trundle pick away from Boom Esports, which means there's no terrain warping coming in to send this Aphelios into a bunch of fits here. Still decent amount of range added in, coming in from the Jhin. But it will be Lissandra as the answer from G-Man. Hovering a couple of things, but I mean,
taking us through the greatest hits of the champion pools this season.
It's everyone else's personal counter pick, but it's not G-Man's counter pick. It's just going to be the standard. Yeah, it's just going to be a stock standard ban away there. And Leona take it away is really interesting because Trundle does do well into that matchup. And it looks like Boom, they have the understanding that this Trundle pick is not going into the support role, but rather into the jungle role.
Yeah, it would certainly be possible. We've seen Gemini in a handful of carries, but he's a very flexible jungler and can play this style as well. So a lot of support bans hitting the pool right now as not only the Braum, but
should be Rakan.
Also the Alistar. Rakan would be the last one. That has been a big koala pickup. Of course, the Bard worked really well last time around. Don't know if that's going to be the choice on this rotation.
While Bard is good against the Jhin, as he is a mobile, especially when he uses his ultimate, it's not as great into something like a LeBlanc. Xin also has a lot of all-in pressure, but they'll go ahead and take it away regardless.
This does leave Rakan up, though, for Koala, should he want to take it and give his team a little bit of a disengage potential. And as always, you know, trying to get that counter pick for Likai, Camille has been let through, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that ends up getting locked. But knowing that, you know, maybe Boom can opt to try and take something that will give Rocky a chance to deal with it. Once again, Gwen has been let through. These are teams that lately they just haven't really prioritized the Gwen, unlike a number of others who find it kind of permabanned. Rocky played it a lot this split, but doesn't really feel confident taking it blind, and that is a Nautilus lock-in for Pop here to pair up with the Jhin.
Nautilus, and I'm going for a stock standard.
Jace.
And Jace will be the lock-in. I fully expect something like Irelia to come out here.
Yeah.
Wukong would provide a little bit more team fight power, but if you want a lane to play through, it's not Aphelios Rakan, it's not Lissandra. So I would like a stronger top laner to come out from Likai, but he still ends up going for this Wukong pick. It's not a bad answer. It provides a lot of CC potential for this squad. But when it comes to the damage department, they're going to be heavily reliant on Atlin. And given the amount of range from the side of Boom Esports with this Jace, with this Jhin, I'm leaning pretty heavily towards Boom.
Yeah, you know, we've seen Blue Side Prio really come up strong with the early pick of Aphelios on red, kind of giving away some game plans. I'm curious if Atlin can be the hero. Machi can close it out here, but if not, you know, Boom, they have a very good composition set up for themselves to play out a good laning phase, to play out a little bit later on into that. And well, Boom could certainly end up taking us to a 5-game series. And, you know, I will say that was something I predicted would happen potentially yesterday when I was talking with Clement. I didn't think it was going to happen this way, though. I will fully admit, Nightstar, these games have been just absolute slugfest, swings back and forth of the pendulum, just crushing victory after crushing victory. Maybe the trend continues here today. And I know you favor this composition from Boom, but how do Machi win this game if they are going to?
It comes down to just constantly looking for these team fights. They do have a lot of lockdown coming in from Likai, Jimmy, and Koala, and a little bit coming in from Gemini and Atlin. So there's a lot of catch potential and a lot of early team fight potential. It's just once you hit that 25-minute mark, the damage really peters off quite drastically coming in from this Lissandra Wukong, and it's very much a one-punch composition after the 25-minute mark.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough, and we'll see if they're going to be able to pull it off here. And trying to find early game victories has been the name of the game, or at least finding early game victories has been what we've seen so far. A lot of very fast victories, very fast nexuses in this series, but will this continue? Holo and Rocky stepping up forward in plain view of Gemini, throws down the ward. Now we've got the time-honored tradition of flashing emotes at each other. One of the things that is so much fun about the PCS is that emotes are always enabled.
The big drawback for this Boom composition, however, is the fact that they don't have a whole lot of disengage. They're going to be very reliant on the extra move speed coming in from the Jace Gate, the really slipperiness coming in from the LeBlanc, and the Crescent Guard coming in from the Xin to try and disengage the situation, but not they're going to have to play things on a tightrope, but there's definitely a much higher ceiling, I would say, from this Boom draft than this Machi draft.
Right, and Boom giving themselves more options is always a recipe for success. But we will kick things off, and it will just be a start on opposite sides, red buff across the way. Should expect Hollow to maybe get involved a little bit earlier, but, you know, Gemini, I definitely want to keep an eye on how well he's going to be able to match pressure on this Trundle. Trundle has been, you know, in the jungle a little bit of a coin flip this split.
Yeah. And into the range coming in from Boom, I'd actually like to see him play more of a supportive role rather than go for something like a Divine Thunder, as decent short trade there coming in from this Boom bottom lane, already looking vastly better than in game number 3.
Oh, yeah. Bottom lane has definitely swung probably the most wildly, I would say, between these two teams. A lot of action going on down there. We did focus on that lane as being one to watch in particular in this matchup, as it was a big opportunity for Boom to try and upset the Machi apple cart. Meanwhile, in this mid lane as well, you know, I'm curious to see how Ruby does in this LeBlanc. It's a champion that he found a lot of success on when he started adapting to it. But I'll talk about that in a minute, because Gemini is coming in, immediately dings level 3, throws down the Frozen Domain, holding the pillar as they get the exhaust on, and they will flash forward, burning everything, but they do secure first blood for Machi.
Yeah, really, really well done here coming in from Gemini. Being able to find that early gank, this is exactly what we want to see from Trundle here as he comes in, gets that EXP from the minion, and Pop just goes in. I suppose he knew that he was going to be dead anyways, but still expends the flash afterwards, and yeah, not a whole lot of escape options. Yeah.
Gemini never used that pillar. I think he was trying not to let himself get cut off if there was a flash burn. But critically, Atlan picks up the first blood, right? That's huge because this team is going to be so reliant on him to deal the damage.
Yeah, that is absolutely massive for their prospects at scaling. And even more so, just accelerating him to that first item as fast as possible. They are setting up for a possible dive up top. Top side, they have the minions, but with another minion wave coming in from Machi, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I think there was maybe an opportunity there, but it kind of passed very quickly, and Holo decides maybe that's not going to be it. Doesn't really opt for it. Instead, just settles for stealing away a little bit of the jungle. So no answer there. Lee Kai, of course, also a little tricky. This is going to be the Hex Flash on the Trundle, as he will fall up the wall and gets spotted on the ward, so that that dive kind of gets stopped before it begins. But nicely done. I do like the Hex Flash on the Trundle. It's going to let him close some gaps really well and more consistently than he would be able to do normally.
Yeah, you don't actually get to see a whole lot of Hex Flash, especially coming in from the jungle role, but Hollow is now here. He's looking for a turn. There's a big minion wave here, though.
Oh, there is, but Koala stepped very far forward. Nice hook out there from Pop, and they are going to snap the jaws shut as Atlan drops to Wako, and Koala has absolutely nowhere to go. Hollow's going to be able to get the kill credit on that one. Boom Esports, they answer right back on the gank and do even better.
That is a massive find for the side of Boom Esports. We're going to see the replay. This wave just comes a little bit too close. It's in a bad spot, and I mean, Koala, he doesn't block the hook here, which, I mean, Atlan, he doesn't have flash. So the moment he gets hooked, he's dead, and Koala decides to hold on to his flash. I would say it was a bit poorly played from the Machi side of things, but now Gemini, he's here. He forces yet another flash, and
this is Gemini's getting a lot of great value out of that. But yeah, like, there was so much investment down bot, and I started that Boom could turn it around with Hollow, and you know, when all the flashes get burned, it really just Pop doing a great job at finding that hook and Koala not intercepting it. Pop has been a very solid player for engaged supports this split, showing it once again.
Yeah, I would almost say he's kind of he's in that number 2 support contention. Really, no one contests Kaiwing, but after that, it's really just a bit of a dog pile for that second slot, as a lot of these support players haven't shown a whole lot of diversity to separate themselves from the pack, but Pop, with his playoff performance, has really looked good. But now Hollow making another trip down here.
Still no flash. Yeah, Atlan could be in a lot of trouble as the wind becomes lightning. Exhaust is on. Pillar going to be popped, but oh, Atlan is going to go down. That was the ignite from Pop that ticks, and they get what they wanted. They get out. Man, getting a whole lot of value off that burn flash.
Yeah, and when you play Aphelios, when you play Rakan, you're looking to scale. So when you get turned on in lane like this, you can't do a whole lot. The Rakan doesn't offer you lane power. It more so offers you skirmish and team fight power. And this is not it.
No, they immediately turn on to Atlan.
Yeah.
Not much they could do there.
A very honest gank. He comes through vision, but the side of Machi just haven't managed this wave at all. So they're put in a very difficult spot. G-Man will just walk away, as, I mean, if he ended up not taking that claw out, he 100% would have been forced to burn flash there. And boom, it's this red side draft, Pyra. It's
Aphelios bait.
It's teams just drafting themselves into a hole, and they just can't fight themselves out of it.
Yeah, it's really just honestly strange how consistently it's been happening today. But you know, the pendulum swings yet again. Now it's obviously not over, not by a long shot. Boom do have a sizable lead in this game, but Machi are going to be playing the scaling game if they're going to be allowed to. But certainly Atlan needs to be able to be allowed the time to farm up, to scale up, and get himself the advantages he needs. But Boom, they're going to try and use this tempo advantage to start off on the Rift Herald, bringing Rocky and Holo to it. But Gemini does spot this out. Unfortunately, he has zero backup, so he can't really do much but kind of annoy them. Now, Jimmy does come in, but Ruby's also there. And now things get a bit dicey as Lee Kai's coming to the rescue. A little bit of a slow move. Oh my goodness. This was actually a leashed Herald, as Machi will turn the fight around, and Koala takes a little bit of damage out the back, but it's going to be Pop that gets popped down to 0. Holo isolated for the team as the curtain call does open up here. Ruby looking for a finisher on the opposite side. Not going to be able to find it. Audacious charge into the Crescent Guard. Holo doesn't find an execution, but to the skies goes Rocky. Can't quite finish Lee Kai, but Holo will do it, and the rest of Machi are running for the hills, but Rocky finds one on the shock blast, and it's looking like they're going to be cleaning up here, as I think we might have a bit of a dive incoming. Ruby going in, finds Atlan. Wako just needs the shot, and Holo going in. Once again, they find the ace at sub 10 minutes.
Pyra, at least Machi got the Rift Herald.
Yeah,
that was definitely worth, right?
At least they got the... Oh, you broke me. You broke me, Nightstar. This was weird. This was a weird play.
Again, they're just so far behind. Koa, he doesn't have level 6, so he can't go in with the quickness. Because of how split this fight is, there's no contest onto this Jhin pick. He's allowed to open up with this curtain call. And because they're so occupied with trying to dodge these curtain call shots, they're just so disjointed. And that's where you're going to find value with this LeBlanc pick, with this Jace pick, with this Xin pick. And once they're starting to run away, you can just keep chasing. The chase potential on Boom is nuts. And yeah, it's all about that one punch from Machi, and right there, gotta say,
bit of a left wrist on it. Yeah. So Boom Esports finding themselves with about a 3,000 gold advantage in this game at 10 minutes. You already see with Holo picking up a lot of those kills and a huge number of assists as well. He's got the Gore Drinker already, so he's going to be a little hard to deal with. It's going to be hard to take him down at the very least, and also 2 kills in Wako's pocket certainly doesn't hurt. But yeah, the chase on it was just so easy, and sure, you get the Herald, but literally at what cost? All of your team.
Yeah, exactly. And Okay.
Looks like we've got ourselves a bit of a pause, though. Yeah, you know, just breaking things down here, Nightstar, we've really seen just time and again, kind of narrow drafting red side, and it feels a little formulaic, but in all honesty, just both teams have been kind of falling into this trap, making this mistake, and I like what Boom brought out here. They gave themselves options. They gave themselves chase, and we just saw the fruits of it happening right there. Really great execution on their draft in this early game.
Yeah, and while you are kind of playing low damage with the Jhin in that bot side, because of how much setup there is coming in from the Nautilus and the Jhin, it makes it for a perfect spot for the Xin to just visit over and over again. And you saw that in the early game. This bot lane has really just become the focus of this series for the most part. Yes, there's the really big flash of the Vladimir in game number 2. But besides that, I would say the focus has been this bottom side 2v2.
Yeah, well, everybody's been coming to the party for sure. We've seen dives left, right, and center, but this game really kind of, the pace seemed to be set early on when there was just a big, heavy commit down bottom, a lot of flashes burned to secure first blood. Atlan did pick it up, but unfortunately that opened the floodgates because Holo came back 2-3 times, and I really think Outland and Koala, they have to respect the potential for the Xin gank, and they just haven't been doing it this game. They're not as mobile as they'd like to be. I think you can fall into a false sense of security when you have a Rakan. I mean, the flip side is if you do catch the Rakan, you can kind of kill him very easily, and Atlan just has not had a lot of mobility on this Aphelios. You know, Aphelios is a very popular pick, and he's very, very good in a lot of situations, but this series certainly seems to be the exception to that rule, because he's just such a giant target every single time to get blown up, and there's not a lot he can do. And you know, it doesn't matter how good you are, how fast you are at swapping your guns, if you can't really get enough shots out before you're taken down, unfortunately. So we're seeing, you know, this history repeat itself over and over.
It's very similar to previous patches when Kai'Sa was incredibly dominant as an AD carry, but after a couple of nerfs and after a lot of meta changes, she was supposed to drop out of the meta, but a lot of AD carries still forced her for 1 or 2 patches more because of just their comfort level on the champion. And that's one of the big issues with, I would say, the bot lane meta, is that a lot of players will hold on to champions for too long after they're really past their expiration date because of their comfort level. And bot laners are players that don't really adapt to the shifting meta, especially when you compare it to top, jungle, mid, where really the pool is changing really every single patch.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that can be a little bit unfortunate if the team can't quite adapt fast enough on the fly. And, you know, as we get back into this one, we do see Boom with this lead. You know, they've managed to pick up the Mountain Dragon. Ruby definitely doesn't get caught there. He's LeBlanc. He's doing just fine. This mid lane matchup, definitely a little bit of a quieter one, but, you know, that's kind of how it goes when you have the Lissandra. You're just trying to play for the neutralize, but I feel like that's a bit of a waste of Jimmy and's talents, to be honest. I would have loved to see him go toe-to-toe here, but not happening. Up top, meanwhile, Rocky has had a pretty solid lane this game. A huge CS advantage over the likes of Lee Kai. And this Wukong pick, you know, you talked about how it was really for the team fights. Problem is, Machi, they're going to go into the team fight phase extremely weakened at this point.
Yes. And G-Man on this Lissandra, he needs to be able to find some sort of space to roam. However, if you look bot side, there's pretty good ward coverage to prevent him from roaming into that bot lane, and that top side is just constantly. Ooh.
They're gonna get the root off with the Graviton mold. This is actually a pretty good dive here coming in for the side of Machi. They should be able to take down Wako. Exhaust. Maybe a little bit of a whiff, not needed to use that earlier on, but that does mean Shelly gets free reign down bottom. Machi looking to try and turn a gold lead in their favor, or at least stem the bleeding a bit. I did like that play.
It helps quite a bit. However, they do have to expend a teleport to bail Lee Kai out in this top side. So Now, it's just kind of a bit isolated here when it comes to these side lanes. Jimin is going to have to really walk to be able to help out his team. So Boom have a lot of power, especially in the hands of Hollow. He can just go back bot lane. Still no flash available on Atlan. It should be coming up very soon. But because there's no quickness available onto Koala, once again, you can just kind of target this bot lane and force summoners, or you can go top side against this Wukong who is fairly behind, doesn't or should have that Divine Thunder completed now, but Divine Thunder doesn't really help him out in this isolated matchup because it is a pretty heavy carry matchup with the Jace. Not a whole lot of health being built up by this champion.
No, not at all. And unfortunately, he's just going to keep taking shock blasts. You have to think how this game goes. Jimmy, in danger of being caught there, does take a little bit of exit damage. Hollow now feeling confident enough to chase into the Gemini jungle, but got to be a little careful. There could always be a pillar there to block your escape route. Instead, he is just going to try and put some pressure on Lee Kai if they can try to snowball this lane. Plates are down. Rocky should be looking to try and open up a lot more damage as he just rides the edge of the tower range to keep doing a decent bit, and Lee Kai really can't poke back nearly as effectively. It does mean Rift Herald is pretty free here for Boom Esports.
And Eclipse just gives Rocky so much sustain up in this top side. Also has the Conqueror, knowing that they are such low range on the side of Machi.
And if that isn't enough, he's got a refillable too, right? I mean, he's not dying anytime soon.
Yeah, so Lee Kai actually just goes ahead, leaves that lane, knows that the dive could have come through given the fact that they were just on Rift Herald. And on the flip side, Machi, they're trying to force more plays with this Trundle pick, and honestly, I've been impressed with the Trundle. The issue is, once again, the lanes aren't great, and I don't know how much this Trundle pick can do. He doesn't scale. He's also going for the Divine Thunder, so going for more damage into his build rather than a more supportive style where he could have played perhaps an Imperial Mandate or a Shirelia's Reverie. Make sure he facilitates for his team, especially this Aphelios pick who has to do all the heavy lifting. And while he does have a CS advantage in this bottom lane, has the completed shield bow, unfortunately going towards this Collector, will be okay in this game, but he has died 3 times. It's not easy to play this Aphelios right now.
No, it's definitely playing the game on hard mode at the moment as Hollow chases and forces Koala back there. Another Shelly charge is going to secure tower number 2 here for Boom, and I don't think they'll get a second one off of it. Oh, they actually do with 2 hit points. Man, talk about value.
Getting great value out of that one. Getting the double charge. They also get the second dragon into their hands. Will go towards an Inferno Soul, and it helps out both teams, right? For Machi, it gives them that extra oomph to possibly be able to win these fights if they're able to secure a couple of these Inferno Dragons. And for the side of Boom, well, given how much range they have, there's just so much uncontested damage that's getting amplified. And it also increases the assassination power of this LeBlanc, as she's already putting out some good numbers.
Oh, Lee Kai could be in some serious trouble here. Actually, is just going to get forced away, and just there's no answer. Gemini is going to try, but meanwhile, Boom already get the inside track on bottom tier 2. You know, keep your eye on the timer, because every one of these games has been like 25, 26, 27 minutes. And I think we are seeing Boom try to accelerate the game pace once again here, Nightstar.
And they have a perfect composition to do so. They can play 1-3-1 with this LeBlanc Jace with how far ahead they are, but they can also ARAM it up with this Jhin, with this Jace, being able to poke from infinite range at the moment, and then have Ruby dip and dive around these walls to throw down poke or finish off the job. LeBlanc kind of has two different modes where sometimes she's considered a low-range champion because she has to fully commit to these assassination attempts, but in this case she's also a bit of a long-range champ because she can play more of that poke style with the other poke champions on her squad. She doesn't have to full commit to a full combo. Rather, she can just do 30% damage and watch the others 70% damage come from the other carries.
Oh, but there are a couple of members of Boom being caught here, and that is a really nice collapse by Machi. Do they have enough damage to do it? As Pop is going to flash away as the stasis finishes, but he goes down. Atlan dings level 11 and picks him up, and you know, that is I think the first big mistake we've seen from Boom Esports this game.
Yeah, and, okay. Still flirting with each other just a little bit here. But for the most part, it should be a disengaged GMN, though.
I don't think Ruby knows how to flirt, to be honest. He's going all in. This is the committed LeBlanc play.
He is still going.
He really wants Leakai. This is a thirsty LeBlanc. Okay, curtain call opened up. We're gonna find one on Jimmy, two on Jimmy, and three onto Koala, and fourth is gonna go wide. Meanwhile, Gemini. Machi coming back up to this one. Gemini kind of. He gets himself a little split on his own pillar. Okay, so that extended engage is going to end, but that was a lifeline for Machi right now.
That was actually a really nice pick off there, but you can see the trouble with their composition. While they are able to get really nice lockdown, look at how much effort it takes to finish off just 2 kills.
I mean, they're so behind.
At the 20-minute mark. It's just they don't deal a whole lot of damage, even though this should be their power spike. They are on that one item. It's 1 and 2 items. That's where they're really going to pop off. And afterwards, that's when the drop off happens. But even with those 2 picks, it was so labored. And Boom Esports, they didn't have to give up on the fight, as you clearly saw from Ruby. He just continued to chase, apply the pressure. And it's a nice pick, but they need so much more.
Yeah, it has to be the first of many here for Machi if they're going to get back into this game. They don't have a whole lot on the map going for themselves. They would love to be able to contest this Infernal Dragon, but I think in a straight-up 5v5, that's going to be a little bit tough at the moment. So they might just settle for setting up some vision. You can see Koala getting a couple in the back of the pit there, and in Tri-Brush as he backs away for the reset, but actually spotted out on the vision, so they should know that everything is there. He completes his back, but unfortunately, they don't really have any prio here, so this should just get swept away.
All right, now I've got a bit of an issue here with these inventories. Both of these AD carries building Collector.
You do not like Collector, do you?
He built, so Wako built Collector into double steel cap. And he's just not doing damage.
Yeah, unfortunately he's not, but Pop is taking a lot of damage off the back half. Machi really looking for the execution here as Hollow throws down the Crescent Guard to stop himself from dying. Meanwhile, counter engage comes in with a curtain call from Wako. He isn't doing a lot of damage, as you said, but just trying to chase Machi away. They have a fair bit of it, that's right. And this should open up the Dragon. Ooh, that 4th Jin shot, that really does the difference.
It's just free Infernal right then and there. And yeah, you just see these extended trades just do not favor the side of Machi. They're down 4.5k gold. And with this comp, because of how much the onus is on them to try and snowball these advantages with how small or how low damage their composition is, being so focused around Atlan, you have to say this 4.5k gold deficit is feeling pretty lethal here. So they're going to try and look for a pick onto Ruby. Of course, still has flash ult on G-Mian, so they can force a play, but it needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, ticking timer for sure. So Machi, they may have succeeded in slowing the game just a little bit with those picks, but not a whole lot here as They're finding themselves really starved of resources. Oh, man, Rocky, biggest in the gold game this time around. Atlan not even able to match. Hollow does get caught out, but the damage, it just isn't there. Ruby is in the area as well. Boom, honestly, I feel like they're content to just play the Infernal Soul game, because once they secure it, it kind of feels like lights out.
Yep. That's going to come up in 4 minutes. So around that 27.5-minute mark is when we're going to see Soul on the table. And it's setting up for, I would say, a 32-minute game coming in from Boom. They can afford to take things a little bit more slow and steady. They don't necessarily have a ton of damage to go ahead and take Baron, but because of the amount of siege, they're going to be pretty comfortable doing it. Wako throwing a really nice trap there. Would spot out Lee Kai if he tried to push through that choke for a dive, and now we're in a bit of an ARAM set up.
There we go, Hollow on with the Crescent Guard to try and keep the sustain going, and they do turn their attention over to Ruby. Is it going to be enough to take him down? And I don't think they found the damage they were looking for. Lee Kai going in with the Whirlwind, does manage to take down the jungler as Pop. Goes Golden trying to keep us engaged, but Koala is going to immediately fall to Wako. Huge damage coming out from the Boom side as it is 1-for-1. Turn around again. Lee Kai doesn't have the execution, tanking shots of the curtain call. And it ends up being a 1-for-1 after all of that.
They're able to get one pick back, which honestly not too bad given the situation. Hollow goes in and gets bursted down, but you can see they don't have the damage to fully execute him because of the Crescent Guard. It just saves so much time, stalls this fight so much, and Koala tries to go in for the re-engage, but that is not the play this time around. This Rakan pick hasn't found the same purchase as he did in the previous play. And
yeah, he's too squishy to really do that. The team wasn't on the same page. So, you know, from being this far behind, an even trade isn't terrible on paper, but you can see how much you have to invest just to get a kill. I mean, Hollow burns Flash. He looks like he's out of there. Lee Kai pulls off the hero play to get the kill. And, you know, so at least they've got that going for themselves. But, you know, critically, like, Atlan's still trying to stack up damage, and he's kind of zoned out in some of these fights. Like, the threat of Ruby is still kind of always there, as is Rocky. I mean, you talked about in Pick and Ban how range was going to be a huge determining factor. Well, we kind of saw it play out.
There's just no opportunity for Atlan to really free fire in these fights, and it's just giving him fits. And now, with how far ahead Ruby is, he's going to tick level 16 very shortly here. Has the Cosmic Drive completed as well. It's just all about this pick style or poke style where he can just constantly jump over these walls, throw QR in quick succession, and just wait for that ultimate to come back up and available. And right now, how the side of Boom should just be playing these fights, it's just Ruby jumps over the wall, QR's Koala. If he hits the E, even better. And Koala's all of a sudden just like at 30% HP. He can't look for these engage for the rest of his team.
Yeah, this is a little tough. They have to always step forward and step into danger. Gemini already taking a little bit of poke damage off the back half of this one, and Lee Kai, he looks like he wanted to try and find the engage, but playing up the ramp, that's a bit of a bad choke. Even when you're the one with the pillar. Gemini at half health at the moment, trying to heal back up. They can't afford to let this dragon get away. They do have the prio on it. Oh, but Atlan already getting chunked by the fourth shot. Oh boy,
now
Lee Kai gonna play body block. Let's see. He's gonna get pulled in. That's the wrong one, though. Looking for that curtain call. It's already down. Curtain call does go through, and it's gonna get taken away. Atlan with the final shot. Will they be able to take the fight off the back half of this one? Boom, just in the driver's seat as they try to find the damage. That's one, that's two. They lose Hollow for it, but
it's all on Atlan.
Atlan did have some serious damage. Gonna make him check twice. Here's Ruby around the side looking for Jimmy and goes in and does get the deletion. Gemini and Atlan, only ones remaining. That's gonna be the heal, but Gemini falling low, and now it's gonna be Atlan trying for the hero play as he flashes forward, finds Wako, but goes down in the back of it. There will be an ace, but they did manage to secure 3 members of Boom Esports for it, and now teleporting back to save bottom. They've stalled out the Infernal Soul.
They stalled an Infernal Soul, but at what cost? They end up losing everyone there. And while they were able to get 2 kills back, it's only onto Wako and it's only onto Hollow. So
right.
they get a small bit of a shutdown onto Wako, but they lose their inhib. In addition to all of that extra gold here, as we get to see the replay, you can't. It's just so difficult to play. Again, you can't play these fights very easily. Look at what Atlan's able to do this time around, though. He's able to walk into the Crescent Guard and deal a lot of damage into him, but it's still a lot of time bought. And at the very least, he's able to get the long-range weapon, which is honestly really fortunate for the rest of this fight. He's able to kite around and at the very least get Wako, but he has to flash, and that means he's dead 10 out of 10 times in this next fight.
Yeah, so this game is definitely going on a little bit longer now because Machi have tried to stall a bit, but you're right, they lose out on an inhibitor down bottom. Now Boom can really set up to bait around the Baron. However, Rocky's got to be a little bit careful as he doesn't get locked up, and that's one of the squishier members. He goes into stasis, buys a tiny bit of time here, but he is going to get shut down by Jimmy. And now that is an opening for Machi to try and, well, maybe not take anything off of, because it's going to be a little bit tough still with these remaining 4 members, but Boomer's starting to make a couple of mistakes in these fights.
Yeah,
even
but
if they're still winning them on the whole.
That's a lot of cooldowns expended. That's why
Look at Ruby.
Ruby, he's just playing so damn aggressive, but big lockdown.
That's going to be 2 knockups in on the grand entrance. Is it going to be enough? No, absolutely not, because Ruby on the flank is able to just lock up the damage dealers. Lee Kai, Gemini, Jimmy, and Atlan all running for the hills, and they're certainly going to lose a few of their members here. Oh dear, even when they have the engage, they just don't have the follow-up, and that's going to be huge. Baron time now for Boom Esports.
It looked so pretty, Pyra. They found the engage under a tower, but they just don't have the damage numbers to back it up. It's an Aphelios without sniper ammo. He can't get into these fights. He's stuck on Gravitum to try and facilitate the team. But at this point, when you are the sole damage threat, look, he gets
completely zoned out.
He gets no autos. He used R, and that was it. That was his contribution to the entire fight. He couldn't find one single auto. And if you're the sole damage threat, you can't find an auto. Where is your damage?
Yeah, well, they don't have any. And Boom are able to clean up. And look at this now. All of a sudden, Ruby is fed. He was already a little bit scary, but now he's downright terrifying. Just straight up has the death cap completed. Oh boy. So this is becoming a big problem. Next dragon, Soul would be in 1 minute and 10. And with the Baron buff, they can just kind of keep the siege on. Machi don't really have a lot of answers, and I think it is very likely here, Nightstar, we are going to a Game 5. This series looking to go the distance.
Yep, we're queuing up the silver scrapes here in the
yeah.
PCS. And now the siege is on. You have the extra Baron empowered minions that also amplifies the siege. Wako and Rocky can really go to town with that range. Ruby as well. It's just a poke battle that the side of Machi don't ever win. Look, it's just quick succession.
Yeah, Ruby does get rooted up, but like it doesn't matter. He's not really under threat.
Where's the
You're
damage?
Gonna force out the Zhonya's pop for Jimmy, and here we go. In goes Rocky with To the Skies. Is actually going to res up in just a moment, but Walla completely zoned out of his base at the moment. Gemini getting blown up. That is going to be a cleanup, and that has got to be the game with the curtain falling on Lee Kai. Absolutely nothing Machi can do as Boom will equalize, and we will have a series go the distance.
The side of Boom Esports, it's blue side, baby.
It's all blue.
These drafts have just been so much cleaner from both of these blue side teams. And while you appreciate the amount of lockdown coming in from the side of Machi, unfortunately, there's just not enough range to be able to compete with the side of Boom. And you could say the disengage, that could have been an issue if they were able to stick with that first punch. However, the lane phase didn't go their way. They were just too far behind from the start, and Lee Kai on this Wukong pick that was a saved counter pick found absolutely no purchase.
Yeah, he got like one kill on a hero play on Holo in mid, and that was about it. So, yeah, Machi are going to have to go back to the drawing board. Of course, they do have side selection for this final game in the best of 5, so we will see if the trend continues. Blue side, 100% win rate, because these red drafts have just been, I'm going to just use your word, Nightstar, and just say doomed. Absolutely doomed. It's really good play from Boom, though. When they get what they want, it all comes together. I don't know what else to add to it, because it feels like every one of these games has followed the same kind of formula. It seems like there's a big draft difference, and a lot of options opened up. Boom find really good coordination in that game as well. Going back to the beginning of the series, we talked about how this is a team that communicates in a lot of different languages. There are certainly some moments when they don't always seem on the same page, but as the series has gone on, I think we've seen them develop a little bit, and I think Game 5 could be a very close one.
Yeah, and the main story of this series has been, well, a red side draft has been really poor, but at the same time, it's about winning lanes, and whichever team seems to have the winning 2v2 bot lane, also just in general winning lanes in mid top, that's helped facilitate the rest of the game. And that's why it's so peculiar to see red side with so many losing lanes, because you get the second say. It's blue side that has to blind pick a lot of their lanes, and red side gets to answer. But we just haven't seen that trend at all in this series.
No, it's a little strange that we have consistently seen pretty much the same thing happen over and over again. It's a bit of a esports Groundhog Day, if you will. But this time around, really big LeBlanc plays coming in for Ruby. I liked what Rocky was able to do, not just in the lane, kind of grinding Lee Kai down. And this is the Rocky I was talking about. His improvement over the split from this kind of 1v1 player to like really being just a more consistent damage dealer. But Ruby is going to be the one that wins the MVP. A flawless performance, 7-0-7. Good kill participation, but really it was just about pumping out the damage consistently and kind of making it never ever safe for anyone for Machi to get close to the team. Kind of just stinging them like a bee every time they got near.
Yeah, that was exactly his place out here. I love his build adaptation, going for the Cosmic Drive. While it's not necessarily a great item on LeBlanc, it made a lot of sense in this game, going for a more poke-oriented play style. And it was the fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I believe that's how the quote goes. He was just dipping and diving across these walls and just constantly pumping out short bursts amount of damage. Instead of going for the full 100 to 0, he was going for those 20%, 30% chunks, knowing that there's just so much poke on the rest of the team that even that 20% chunk could be lethal.
Yeah, move over Boxer Lee Sin. We've got Boxer LeBlanc. Well, this series has absolutely gone the distance. Bust out your silver scrapes. We will be right back with the final game of this match between Machi and Boom.